प्रापणं सारसम्पदः यस्य पादोदकं सम्यक् तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। न गुरोरधिकं तत्त्वं न गुरोरधिकं तपः तत्त्वज्ञानात् परं नास्ति तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मन्नाथ श्रीजगन्नाथो मद्गुरु श्रीजगद्गुरु मदात्मा सर्वभूतात्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुरादिरनादिश्च गुरुः परमदैवतम् गुरो परतरं नास्ति तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः।
So welcome, very warm welcome everyone. Namaste Badaji. Namaste to Sharda ji, Priyanka, Vijeta, Yashri. Hi. So Taru may not join just in the beginning. She may join a bit later. And we'll start. So today I think we have to start from page number 10, those who are having a hard copy. And we covered last time education, preparing the consciousness, where I think last time we were taking up these refinement of the senses. We were talking about that. So today let us start with a child's desires. And when I just read the topic, a child's desires, and we are all mother's children, so it should be applicable to all of us without the bar of age. Although this in this reference, mother actually is talking about the education, so it's reference to children. Yeah, so would anyone like to read it out for all of us? Okay, Taru is here. Yeah, great. Anyone who would like to read?
I could.
Yes, please.
A child's desires. A sweet mother, how can we help a child to come out of this habit of always asking? There are many ways, but first of all, you must know whether you will not just stop him from freely expressing what he thinks and feels. Because this is what people usually do. They scold, even sometimes punish him, and so the child forms the habit of concealing his desires. But he is not cured of them. And you see, if he is always told, no, you won't have that, then simply the state of mind gets settled in him. Ah, when you are small, people don't give you anything. You must wait till you're big. When I'm big, I shall have all that I want. That's how it is. But this does not cure them. It is very difficult to bring up a child. There is a way which consists in giving him all he wants, and naturally, the next minute he will want something else because that's the law of desire, never to be satisfied. And so, if he is intelligent, one can tell him, but you see, you insisted so much on having this, and now you no longer care for it. You want something else. Yet, if he was very clever, he would answer, well, the best way of curing me is to give me what I ask for.
Thank you, Mira. Yeah, so any reflections, anyone? Yes, Jeshri.
Yeah, I think being a mother, I have stopped many a times my daughter not to express her feelings because फिर लगता है कि अरे लोग क्या बोलेंगे वैसा. And many a times I've even scolded her.
We all have, so don't worry. How old is your daughter?
She is 11 years.
Okay, still a lot of time we have at hand. Mother says, I think in the child psychology or this integral vision of education, we have from birth up till 21 years uh, to mold in a positive way, in the sense to ground the child around the psychic being. So that inner guide. So we still have a lot of time. So if there is hope for us, definitely there is hope for the child also. So don't worry about what is done. Now what can be done is what we have to look forward to. Yeah. So I think this is very important what mother is sharing here, because in our ignorance, of course, all of us have been scolded, and all of us have, those of us who have children, they have scolded, that how can you be so asking all the time or whatever. We have all done that. But we are in front of this new way of understanding where we can take it in a different way. So, yeah. Anyone else? Okay, so I'm going to then go over these lines once again, and we'll take up whatever comes up, and please share in between. So one thing which Jashri shared, that one thing which now that we are reading Words of Mother, I'm conscious of it. So I can at least, whenever I begin to scold again or stop expression of the child, I can become conscious of it. So because now I see this, that this can be a better way. Whatever is done in the past, we can just forget about it, not to blame ourselves for it, because we were not having that much of understanding with these words. So right now these words are our light, so we can take a way forward. So not stopping the child from freely expressing. So if he's expressing a desire, or he's expressing a greed, which is very common with children, that's where we start from. We don't have to stop the expression of whatever, in other words, can be an ugliness, darkness, or weakness. So mother says, because this is what people usually do, they scold, even sometimes punish him. That since you have been so lalchi or greedy, now you're not going to get this. So, that kind of punishment. And so the child forms the habit of concealing his desires. So that's what we do, that we have a desire, we keep it to ourselves, and when nobody is looking, we try to fulfill that desire. We have all been there, done that. Why? Because people don't understand that I have a desire, and what do I do with it? Nobody ever cared to make me understand what do I do with it. Everybody tried to punish me, everybody tried to maybe remark on me, comment me, suppress me, but nobody really tried to make me understand, okay, what to do when I have this desire. So mother is trying to make us understand. So, but he is not cured of them. And you see, if he is always told, no, you won't have that, then simply this state of mind gets settled in him. When you are small, people don't give you anything. You must wait till you're big. So it's very interesting that before this, we had the paragraph on refinement of senses. So, refinement of senses, what it does is that it cultivates beauty in us. Like I have a taste for beauty. So if I see something ugly, in myself or outside, I immediately become conscious of that ugliness, weakness. So that's refinement of senses. Now, when I look at my own self, I would see that whenever I follow a desire, first of all, it makes me restless, agitated, uneasy. And then whenever I have fulfilled, I have still remained empty. Pleasure come for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then gone. I'm still dissatisfied. So this aspect of desire, I think when kids are old enough to understand, as a caretaker, I have to first understand myself and also take this opportunity, instead of shunning away the expression, that do you see what it is giving to you? You want fulfillment. Do you see that after 2 3 minutes of having that desire fulfilled, you are again restless? What does it give? And again, exploring various ways in which one can go towards refinement of that energy, because desire is unexpressed energy, it's kind of channelized into different direction. So rather than that, what can I do? So one can explore with the child, or if one knows uh, what are the natural inclinations of the child, then one takes the child there. So channelizing the energy there, so that that notorious energy which was now going into greed and desire and lust, that goes into a different direction. And that's why before that we had the paragraph on refinement of senses. So I feel they are a bit related here. And this also I want to talk about this, because this is a very big problem in our, not only Indian society but also outside, where pornography. So you have desires, you have social media, the child is exposed to everything. Of course, once you have internet, there is no end to what you can explore. While the way we take it as parents is, this is, oh my god, oh my god, how can you do that? It's like that, it's like we suppress it. We don't try to look at it fully with the child, that what is it giving you, and do you see that whatever it is giving you is, do you see any beauty in that? Do you feel worthy and expanded, and or do you feel you want to shrink, being limited? How do you feel? So I think these things, if our children are old enough of this age, these things also need to be discussed, because otherwise it just remains under the cover for a very long time, and the child goes on with this bad taste, and there is nobody who wants to share any knowledge, any understanding on this. So I feel that this also has to be part of, especially starting from teenage years, whenever we have exposure to full internet and all that, and all kind of exposures are there when you are meeting people, children of your age, different backgrounds. You can't stop that influence. It is all everywhere. So I think it's very good to discuss about it, and to let the child know through his mind that, do we see anything good here, beautiful here, harmonious here, so that the child has a taste for ugliness and beauty, and he can make a difference. Otherwise it remains undercover for a very long time and leaves bad impressions. It is a sad impression, really, on our consciousness. And that's what we do, when we suppress the child, then the child is waiting to be big, because he was never given respect and freedom and liberty to talk what he's feeling about, what he wants to do. He was never given that freedom. So he's waiting, okay, let me, be big, and then I will do. So the child, instead of having a responsible freedom, the child is very inclined to go towards licentiousness. That now that I have freedom, no parent is overlooking me. Now I'm going to do whatever I want, because I was not allowed to do whatever I want when I was a child. And now, when with mother's words we are understanding this, I think we have a lot of scope to still be able to work with ourselves and with others, kids. And this one is also beautiful, the second half, where mother says that you can discuss it with the child. So for example, the child is maybe 6 years. I think by 6 7 they are good enough to understand these concepts. When you're talking intelligently with the child will understand. So letting him know that you are now craving for this, but do you see that all the things in this house have come out of craving only? Now do you pay attention to it? And I have personally used this also with my children. I don't know how much it works, but I have discussed this, that the thing that you crave for right now and you're going mad for right now, all these things in this room has come, one by one. They've accumulated because of that craving only. So, and now we don't even look at it. What has it given me? Yeah. Anyone else? Any reflections?
Yeah, hi. Here, I don't know, I'm feeling a certain dishonesty because, like, personally, it's like when I look at things, whatever I can't do, I mean, my standards for myself are quite low, but for the child are high. Like, lot of times I see that I would tell him, oh, don't do this. But next day I would see I'm doing the same thing, and yet when I tell him not to do that, my tone and my attitude is like, oh my God, like that's an absolute unacceptable action. And yet it's different when it comes to me. So I think the same thing I would say with desires. Like when I know that, you know, how like you were sharing that all the things in the room have been accumulated because of that. And of course, that's my desire, the other people who are living in the house desire, and your desires, right? Like, so if I was the child and I would be told that, you see so much has been accumulated because of that, I would just say that, yeah, see, you also do it. That person also does it. Bhaiya also does it. I want to do it. Like with my kid, I've seen that, okay, if he had ordered two toys, for example, for some occasion, one of them did come, but I would see him burning in the desire that, the second hasn't come, the second hasn't come, like not even waiting or like giving what he already has, just even enough attention that, okay, this is good, oh wow, I got one toy. And that's very reflective. Like when you see a child kind of that want that thing, and you can see it because you find it very silly, right? That, oh my God, it's such a small thing, and you are kind of creating a big tantrum, and yet that's what I do. So I'm just saying that because my consciousness has not been refined, or I have not been able to handle my desires honestly, and I use things like denial to myself, distance, witness, or giving in, depending on how I'm feeling. And there's no consistency. So this is the issue, right? Like when you were discussing and when I'm reading that, how do I do anything when I myself am, how they call bin pen deka lota, that something here, something here. So I guess that clarity need to happen first with me, that how do I want to do this, right? Like there has to be some consistency in me, and the same thing can be experimented and I think bought out there, because sometimes it just seems, how can I give him everything he asks for, right? Like that doesn't make sense. And yet that's what life has been telling me, that when I get, I get tired of it. I get tired of it. So it looks quite tough, and yet of course, mother. I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, I think resonates because, if I'm not experimenting with my own desires,
Mm.
this passage in front is meaningless to me. Totally resonate. It's not possible to work on my child's desires if I have not been conscious now looking at the how desires work. And just a second. I'm so sorry. So yeah, I think, yeah, I would totally resonate with that. That if I can't imagine this experimentation or exploration with the child, if I'm not exploring it myself. Yeah. And again, there is so much to desire. The shades that you were sharing, at times indulging, at times craving, at times being mad for it. We all have our phases, and at times, as you said, denying, being a witness, at times reflecting intellectually, what has it given me? I'm still a beggar. So
Yeah.
again, all this explorations has to begin with the caretaker if
Yeah.
anything is to be done with children.
And I
And
think one more thing I'm
yeah,
seeing, sorry, why don't you first finish?
yeah, please.
I was just saying that, how I have also seen, and I've often said that too, that when it comes to, like, say, if I'm in a tough situation and I'm acting a different way, but if I imagine my child in a different, in the same situation, I would just know what to do because the love is there. So I've often felt that we love, kids more than what we love ourselves. Mostly, there are exceptions, but I'm seeing a lot of lack of compassion in disciplining. Like, I just confess that I could be doing the same things. I not could be, I do the things that I tell him are not all right when he's not looking. So, and if I have seen that my desires haven't, I don't know, how that indulgence doesn't take me anywhere, but that is a journey, right? But with him, I would say that, can't you see, can't you, it's like I would expect more responsibility or understanding from a child than I do with me. I'm just feeling that if I
Absolutely.
look at my actions.
Yeah. And I think a part of that, again, whatever you shared, a part of that I feel that is because when I look at my own ugliness, again in the field of desire, uh, the lack of love word that you used, I'm not all embracing. Somehow, a part of me is not able to, one can say, embrace that crying weakness in me that is still present. And without that embrace of love for that crying weakness, no transformation can happen, as Mother says. That transformation happens only with love. So, the more I have seen my pitfalls, the more I have seen how deep down in darkness I have gone and risen, the more compassionate I am towards myself, touching deeper parts in me, darker parts in me. I think it is easier then for me to also look at the darker parts in the child and not to shun them away or want them just gone, like in one moment, as you were sharing that it is a progress, it's a path. And then I can be a bit compassionate, and give it time also, plus understanding, knowing that it's there in me also and it's there in the child. And as I am working on myself, I can also parallelly work on the child. Yeah. So one thing which is a bit funny, I wanted to share, at times, again, I, as a parent, one has to use many tricks. So one of the tricks, so I have two children aged around similar age groups, and at times they're like partners in crime. So they're after my life for, say, something. They're just wanting something which I'm not going to give. I'm sure that this is not to be granted. So there is a surety in some aspects. And then when I feel so helpless because these are two of them on me almost, that no, you have to, you have to. So one funny thing which I discovered just by random chance is, for example, there is this mother's photograph here and a bit other walls also. So I look at the mother and I say, "Ma, mother, please help. What has happened to your children?" And then somehow they just forget about the craving. At times it has happened that when I use humor, which just happened one day by chance, so they forget that, the overpowering thing by which they are getting onto me, and somehow that humor dissolves something, and I don't have to then engage in the battle. Yeah, so yeah, more reflections, anyone? we can also reflect upon our desires. We are all children of the mother, so feel free to, before we take up the rest of the paragraph, feel free to share anything on desire which is coming.
Yeah, one small reflection, again, very fresh from the oven. I am in a different, country, and the child is exposed to different things, and I am seeing that how easily, say, the devil part, how we talk about Ram and Ravan, they are not outside, they live in us, and so how easily the Ravan is able to rule Ram in a lot of situations. Like, how like if there are two people, one is like, say, tantrumy, the other is very sulja hua, how easily the sulja hua will become tantrumy, but how tough it would be for the tantrumy to become a bit more sorted. Like, not saying, I mean, I'm just talking about the natural slippery slopes, not saying that's not what one should aspire for. So I was just, yesterday only thinking that when I say look at Ramayan, the episodes and stuff, it seems so genuine that yes, Ram will win. Ram, the epitome of simplicity and truth and honesty. Like, it feels that the fight between the devil and the God will naturally come and just win. And yet, when I look in front of me, within me, around me, it's a very tough fight. I know I'm not saying anything out of the ordinary, and yet to look at every day my slippery slopes, my triggers, my thing, it's like, "Ye bechara Ram kya kare?" You know, I know, like, the nature seems to be against it, and how much aspiration, strength, will, sincerity, especially, I would say, is needed, that don't give up, like, one has to reach Lanka, one has to, like, it's a very, yeah, I mean, it's against a lot of natural impulses when one is fighting against, like, again, very indicative of how so much Ram had to transcend so many mountains, jungles, forests, wars, oceans. Like, and yet it looks very simple the way it's portrayed, but we must see how difficult it was for him and how difficult it is for me practically.
So, well, Zaru was sharing this again, like fresh from the oven experience. So, yesterday I had to speak to someone from another team, and he's a little aggressive in general. So before that, I took two to three deep breaths, and then I went into the call. And then I did not expect that he would start like accusing me or something. And then he started off with a whole high pitched tone about how I was not doing it properly, this, that, and everything. I was still breathing in deeply so that I don't lose my temper and get all aggressive. But he just would not budge. Like, I was kept saying, I was like really controlling. And then at one point, and then I had to yell back at him after, yeah, that was a slippery slope which happened. After, in hindsight, I was like, maybe I should not have. But at that point, it is just so difficult to not slip the slope.
One thing which comes to me here is that one episode of Upanishad Ganga I had seen, where so there are two fellows, and one fellow comes to the other one for an advice, and this other one is living in forest. One of them is living in the kingdom, who has come to take an advice from the guy in the forest. Now the guy in the forest has been mistreated earlier, according to his feeling that I have been mistreated. And this guy from the kingdom, who is a king, he's a nice king, he's a good king, Sattvic king, and he asks for advice. Now this advice he can get only from the guy in the forest. So when he comes for advice, now the guy in the forest is in a dilemma. He's thinking, okay, what do I do? Now he has come for this advice. If I want, I can actually keep him here. I can kill him for what his past deeds. But then if I go up there, then I will get hell and this guy will get heaven because, look, I'm doing a wrong deed. It's not nice to somebody come for faithful advice and you kill him. So I think it's not, it maybe appear like a very trivial thing, but I think it is a lot of depth, that just one moment of reflection that they shared, that he does not just immediately barge at him out, that how dare you come or whatever. He goes inside, he says, okay, let me think. As mother says, reason should be the master. Let me think. And then he totally, in the scriptures, like through the scriptures, he thinks, okay, that if I do this deed, I will go to hell and this guy will get heaven, and I don't want that. So very good reflection. And then he goes back to the guy, the king who has come, and he shares all the advice that he can share with him. And now he is very clean in his conscience, that whatever I could do, I have done the best. So I think this moment of reflection, what Meera, you were also sharing, that later on we may regret. And I think even the regret that comes later on is a good baby step, because many a times we do things and we don't even regret. So it's a very good step that we reflect, as mother says, reflect over whatever you have done throughout the day, and you would know where you could have done better. And we all have that knowing. So to nurture that knowing. And yes, Shardaji, you are muted.
Yeah. So many times we regret afterwards, while the process is happening. So we wanted, as she shared, we wanted to be in control. We wanted to control our impulses. But the sad part is so many times we just blur out something. Afterwards, I feel that, oh, why did I say that? Why did I say that? I could have been, little more patient. There is no end for this, I think.
No end. And also, I think what Taru was sharing earlier, lack of love. I think if I have a little bit of love towards myself, just like that guy reflected, that would I want to go to hell? No. So I would say this comes in the category of I want to take care of my being. And first hell is that we create in the mind. That's the first hell. Because whenever we act out of soul's alignment, we experience so much of unease, mind feeling distorted for a whole day. We are all there, we all have experienced that. So if I go through these experiences number of times, then after some time I get experience, bhaiya, I don't want that unease again. So better to stop right here than take this step forward. And all these actions that we take through the egoistic consciousness, through the unease, following the dictate of unease, that is what we later on repent. And why it takes many experiences? Because it has a momentum. Like you push a ball. Now, before the ball comes to a complete halt, it will require some time. So these tendencies and patterns which are ruling me, they have a great momentum from maybe which lifetime, we don't know. So before they get to a complete halt, we will need some time. But with my conscious effort, that's what mother stresses upon, become conscious. And with my conscious effort, I see, oh, again that same pattern. Now this time I don't want to act according to this, because I suffer from so much unease whenever I have acted through that dictate. So again, caring for ourselves, loving ourselves that much to have a good taste inside, that I want to have this, maintain this taste inside, something like that.
That day, Monica, when we were having that equanimity, conversation, there's something that just came to me on this situation. That, जैसे we say कि हाँ हो जाता है, right? Like it just happens, and story of everybody's life, right? Like, I try, and every time, even when Meera was sharing that, I tried, one attack, two attack, three attack, four attack, तो लगता है आजा, कि this is enough, how, and I feel that, okay, those four things were also something that I have developed, those four attacks that I could let go of. And yet, I didn't, I was holding on and then I let go. So I think that is also something to be recognized. But I think the thing that was coming was that somewhere I don't think this is really wrong. Again, like I see the big picture. Okay, in big picture, I say, I'm a very polite person. यार वो तो हो जाता है कभी कभी, right? Like I don't see this as an issue. Like if say I was told that the next time you get angry, you have a direct ticket to hell. Like for example, right? Like I mean, if somebody was actually able to say this like blank on, okay, this is it. It's not all right. It's not a small thing, right? I reduce my own stakes. I see things and I feel सब ठीक ही तो चल रहा है. अरे everybody loses once in a while. So because I have this big picture image of me and how the world is, these small movements which mostly miss me. So first of all, congratulations to me that I can see them. Some I can cat before, some during, some after, but I mostly see everything. And of course, I'll see more. Recognize this as the Ravan in me. I said, nahi, nahi, ye to chota sa koi wo hai na? It's just maybe a devil monkey. It's not Ravan. So let me not put in too much. That attention, that thing that again one has to, and I mean, I remember, like when Meera was especially discussing that once I was having a streamy argument with somebody, and that somebody was standing next to mother's picture. So I wanted to kind of use harsher words and, kind of loud noise. And yet I kept looking because I kept looking at mother smiling at me and I couldn't do it. And so by the end of it, because that person kept, saying things, I turned mother's picture on the I shouted. So imagine that I know I can see. I'm not able to. I know I can stop that thing, and yet I allowed myself to take those four steps, turn the mother's picture, and then have that fight. I mean, really, kind of, and yet I
Yeah.
did it.
And I
So
think this is the momentum that we were talking of, because these tendencies are with a very strong momentum. And that's why you took that much of, courage. I would say courage to turn mother's picture around and continue with that momentum. But it's, as you said, that it's amazing to be able to at least witness this, see that yes, this happens. And what you were sharing again, that sharing that I had with your father, that talk that we heard, I think it left a very deep impression. So that guy talked about two things: dukh ka bhog and dukh ka prabhav. And he said that who is a yogi or a sadhak? A true yogi, the moment a little bit of unease, the small monkey ravans that you were talking of, the moment a little bit of that arises, he just cannot help but notice that. How dare such dirt arise in my being? While what we do, what you were sharing, what we do is that becomes a way of life. That ये तो सबके साथ होता है. सभी तो रहते हैं इतने स्ट्रेस में. अरे सभी तो गुस्सा करते हैं. While a yogi or a Buddha, what he does it, even a bit spike of unease and suffering, and he becomes very sensitive that what is the root of this suffering? I want to know. So not to become complacent about any unease that arises in the being. So again, I think that again translates back into being so loving towards ourselves that now we want to maintain a sanctity in this temple. Uncompromisable sanctity almost. Yeah. And again, coming back to the topic of desire, I have been through desires, and now I see that the moment I reflect over my past, the agitations and the desires I've gone through, oh my God, what unease it brings in me. Do I want to do that again? Of course not. So that's being kind towards myself. Okay, again, anger. Take anger. Same with anger. But again, desire is more catchy because desire in the beginning promises me pleasure. Anger doesn't promise me pleasure. It is for sure a pain in the ass. Anger. It burns my heart. But desire promises me pleasure. That's why it's desire is a catchy thing. And as mother says that this journey of human birth is the travel from the desire soul to the true soul. So I think all of us start being so sticky and just wanting to grasp onto anything if it appears beautiful and have it more and more and more and more and more. We all start with that, but that's not our end. We have to go forward.
Yeah, hi. I was wanting to share something about how it brings in this piece about the desire and this where one doesn't follow the instinct that is actually a wise thing, um, about like turning mother's photo, or even that inside a friend and I were doing a piece of Byron Katie work, and in using that technique we came to see a situation where it seems like you need this person's respect, or you need them to give you some care, and in my situation it was a case of my partner. I'm going to a medical appointment, and so I think I deserve all that care, and I deserve all this kind of respect, and being kind of held with special treatment and kid gloves, right? And he had his own thing going on, and he had his own sleepless night and all these things. And of course, I had the little inkling that came in that told me he's tired, he's not in his right mind. He and I started, an argument about something that we usually do argue about in terms of housework, something so small, housework, And I am on the way to medical treatment, and the wisdom comes in. It's like mother's voice that says, drop it. The man is not in his sanity. He's not even able to access his kind heart in this moment. So to expect it from him is completely futile. Like, let it go. But no, there's this one moment where the mind goes, actually, I deserve this. I'm going to win. This one, I'm allowed to win. But of course, I'm going to a medical treatment, for God's sakes. Health. Everybody knows health is more important. I'm going to win this one. It was like a desire to win this one. And of course, then the vital justifies, like, well, of course you're going to win this one because you deserve it. And in the end, we came to see in her situation, she had her own situation with the same kind of need from somebody, that there is no winning. It's just a big trick. It's a big trick of ego, of the vital. There is no winning, And so I hope the next time this comes up of, I can win this one, is like just to see, actually, just remember, there is no winning. Ultimately, it just causes everyone unhappiness. There's an unnecessary exchange of words. It left me not feeling very cared or loved for anything, even by myself. I left my side completely, So yeah, it was a big lesson. And actually, it was my job with the mother to accompany myself with the mother to my medical appointment. That's it.
Congratulations on this realization. Yeah, wonderful. I think this mother talks about this, that the very quality of this wisdom, inner wisdom, is that it is not very loud or aggressive. But one thing which she shares is it is persistent. So it's like in the background, that's the right thing. Very, it happily lets it ignore itself. It's happy to be ignored, but it stays with us. That, as you were sharing, that something in me tells me, but you knew what was to be done. So that is there. It's persistent, but it's non-aggressive. I think that's a very good key for us, because whenever there is an aggressive voice in us, definitely it's not the psychic voice. Yeah. Yeah, anyone else before we march forward? I don't know if we'll be able to cover everything, but let's begin the next part. So, would anyone want to read this little paragraph that is there after what Meera read? Some people cherish this idea.
Some people cherish this idea all their life. When they are told that they should overcome their desires, they say the easiest way is to satisfy them. This kind of logic seems impossible. But the fact is that it is not the object desire that has to be changed. It is the impulse of desire, the movement of desire. And for this, a great deal of knowledge is needed. And this is difficult for a very young child. In fact, perhaps one should begin by shifting the movement to things which it is better to have from the true point of view and which it is more difficult to obtain. If one could turn this impulsion of desire towards a, for example, when a child is full of desires, if one could give him a desire of a higher kind, instead of its being a desire for purely material objects, you understand, an altogether transitory satisfaction. If one could awaken in him the desire to know, the desire to learn, the desire to become a remarkable person, in this way, begin with that. As these things are difficult to do so, gradually he will develop his will for these things. Or even from the material point of view, the desire to do something difficult, as for example, construct a toy which it is difficult to make, or give him a game of patience which requires a great deal of perseverance.
Thank you, Aditi. So there is one line by the mother which is coming after going through this paragraph, which is mother says, stepping back from a desire gives a greater joy. And if we have tasted that greater joy even once, it becomes a bit easier to orient myself in the next moment when other desire comes in overpowers me.
What I have realized is the environment, the parents or mother must be trying to do something, but even the environment has got the effect. Say, in case of a child has got a toy, and when this child visits the other person, other child of the similar age group, on birthday party or somewhere else, they see that there are so many toys of this nature available there. So there is, some sort of the surrounding has got also effect on the mind of the child when the child is growing up. So nowadays we try to find out, it's very difficult, as mother says, that it is very difficult. We try to be smart. Actually, they are over smart. The children, their understanding and their psychology and their everything is in the pure form. So it is not the desire, but they're everything. They're curious to know in this world. And mother is the god. Whatever mother says, that is true. The moment the child start going to the school. Nowadays, the school is not in 5 years or 6 years, and even 5 months old, 6 months old children, they have been left somewhere. So the society has such a change. So everything has got an effect. If the child is there in the daycare for 2 hours or 3 hours, even in that itself, there are so many things have happened which we cannot imagine. The child is not with me, but what else has gone in that I do not know. Neither I can measure nor there is. So there is a total complex situation to deal with the child, and we may be knowing that this may happen, that may happen, this should not happen, and all this. But what is happening itself, we not even in our case itself, we think to be adult, but so many things we do not know. As an adult, we are supposed to be knowing, because I cannot compare. I got my ego and all. I said, yes, I know, I know, I know. But that is only for saying sake. But reality, even I do not know myself that I was so powerful. I was never told by my mother that you have got everything. Uh, like that song, no? Shuddhosi, Buddhosi, Niranjanosi, means I am the purest form. So it was never told. Buddhosi means I know I'm Buddha from my birth or before my birth, but that was never been told. Niranjanosi, there is no there is no disfiguration or discoloration in my body. There is no spot. I'm spotless. It was never been told. Now, probably reading that, yes, I was like this only, but I was never told. I'm not in a position to discover myself. So in that itself, in this turmoil, and I'm trying to judge or bring up the child. So it is very impossible task almost. So it's very, very difficult. I understand. Yes, mother has given that exact way, but what we are understanding may not be sufficient. May not be sufficient because it is to be spoken in the language. So probably she had spoken in the language, but we are not understanding what actually she meant, or maybe much more in it actually in the sentences. Probably if we do some yoga or something and all this on these sentences or words, probably we may come to know the deeper meaning of it actually, what she is trying to say. So in short, it is very, very difficult task actually, almost awful task or impossible task, I would say, to grow the child. I remember in my case, my son, maybe sometimes he was told, Ferex was a baby food. So but maybe my wife must have told sometime that, the Ferex is not good for health, you should not have. And sometime when he was child. And at the age of 26 years, he is remembering, he says that I was not allowed, now I'll go. He went to the canteen and he bought a Ferex container, 1 kg tin, and he bought it and he ate. And he didn't like it, only 1 spoon only he ate. But he says, why didn't you allow me to eat at that time? So that is why I wanted to eat. He did it actually. So it was not tasty at all, but the child is feeling hungry at that time, at that age. You just dilute it water and you can eat Ferex and the child will take. It is of some wheat or something and all this. So what I'm saying is that the 26 years, the memory is there, 20 years or so. It is there that I have been prohibited by my mother. This is not to be done or something. So, at the time, this is the purest form. There are so many things getting registered, only we do not care. Like there is a joke. Somebody is calling me from outside, knocking the door, and the child opens the door, and he says, Papa says, Papa is not at home. Something like that. So it's actually very very easy to turn the child towards anything, but we have to be very, very sensitive and their requirement, and probably is friendship, or we should know, and we can easily do that. But I have to practice myself. Like Papa said, Papa is not at home, otherwise it will take place, because they know that I have seen there are multi-language children. They are playing together in a defense colony, somewhere the family residing there, and the child is speaking to that person in that language, the child's language, switching over to Malayalam, switching over to Tamil, switching over to Bengali, switching over to Assamese, because the child knows that the child may not understand my language. Nowadays, of course, that English has become a common language. But so they have got that perception, that discrimination, that yes, this is the language which you'll understand better. So the child is they know everything. They know everything, but we undermine. So it's very, very tough task to bring up the child. Thank you.
Yeah, it's tough. I think let us not end on that note. Let us take it a bit towards the mother, because yes, it is tough. Life is most of the times a struggle. But I think if, as Taru was sharing earlier, as you yourself, Badalji, shared, that if I am walking on the path consciously and taking my life as an experiment and becoming a better and better and better version of myself through those experiments, then when I see any darkness, any stupidity in the child also, which I've seen in myself, then somehow I don't become too serious about it. That's what I can say. Nowadays, now my child is, say, 7, 8 year old, 8 year, and he's just developed a fondness for a girl. Now he has no idea, no exposure really, in my knowledge, to girl, boy, or anything. And I have seen both of them together, and it's not that they exchange words. That's the very interesting part. They just are so delighted to see each other. They're not even talking. Somehow something in them melts when they see each other. Just that. And since I have gone through that experience, and I can actually see it's funny, it's hilarious, and it's also very innocent. Some psychic bond also may be there, or maybe it's a passing phase, God knows. Because I can see that it's not that I want to be with that other person all the time. It's not a very aggressive something. But whenever they're around each other, there is a mutual, heart melting something there that's going on. And for me as a parent, it's very interesting to observe this. Why it is interesting and not bothersome for me? Because I think to some extent I have taken my life also as an experiment. No matter how much pain and turmoil still I go through or have gone through, still it is an experiment, and I see that the divine always wins. Now I can see that for a child who is open at this age to this heart melting, I can see that I somehow talk to myself, and I would say that बेचारा बहुत दुख दर्द झेलेगा, if this heart melting is still there at this young age. But then I have gone through that dukh and dard, and I have just grown through it. I can say, that I always have gratitude for that phase which came to me, which gave me a lot of heart melting, but also suffering, and it's growth. Now I am more grounded. What I was there before, again, long way to go, but still, I can. So I feel that the more darkness, the more difficulty I go through in my life and experiment with it, somehow when I see the difficulty in other person, I have this faith somehow that he can also go through it, and he can also transcend this and not get stuck at that level of possessing and grasping, rather than refining love, which I am doing. So why can't he refine love, which if I can do? I am also a human being. I am on this path. He is also a human being, and maybe a better human being of next generation. So why to give up so easily? Why to yes, it is difficult, but then things are difficult anyway, so yeah. So just wanted to leave it at a higher note that through our difficulties we transcend and we don't have to stop there. Mother is there, there's mother prayers and meditations, Mother says that yes, it's all difficult, jungled around, chaotic and tangled, but you are all powerful, you are here. So I think there we have I feel as a parent, I have the responsibility to, from the beginning, if it may have been missing in my childhood, but now I have that. So to have grounding in something higher and purer. So why not connect my child with the mother or with the inner guide right now? Who stops me? Why not tell the child that ask yourself and you would know the answer? Why not? Or bank upon the mother. When I can introduce the child to 10,000 gadgets and ice creams, why can't I introduce the child to the mother? Who stops me? Now, I'm not comparing ice cream with the mother. Pardon me. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I'm seeing very loudly these days, especially when Badaji was sharing, I was reminded of that if I see some issue in my child, or if I'm having some issue with this adult, rather than talking to that person or to my child, I would talk to 5 people. I will ask for a good therapist. I would take therapy for myself. I would take therapy for them. And I would not have that conversation in the sense on Facebook and all, I'm in some mommy groups and stuff. So the amount of, the level of questions, the not level, but मतलब जो the problems that they have, it just feels that, just say it. It's like I have this, but you have not confronted and you have not directed the child, and you're just like, what do I do? It's bigger than me, it's bigger than me. Something that a simple conversation would take place. And I remember when I was very young, I don't know, very young, I had gone to some satsang and where that person had talked about 4 basic teachings of Buddha. And the first teaching was that if you have a problem with A, talk to A. Don't talk to B, C, D, E. But at that time, I thought that, of course, right? Like, I don't know, what is this teaching? It's like common sense. But, now, I don't know, 35 years later, I'm realizing that that is the root of a lot of problem, because I have so much inhibition, so many fears, so many, wo kya sochega? Matlab, the kachada that I have made around me makes it very difficult for A to talk to B. It's easier to talk to X, Y, Z. And if I look at that, things can change.
So I think not to rush this paragraph. I think this something on desire is very important. Our lives are ruled by desires. So the last half we can take the next time because it will require some time. So if there are any further reflections on this half, anyone? So we are sorted, all desire free, understood desires before the next one strikes. I think this thing from the mother really helps, that we are here to transcend it. When she shares that we have a desire soul, and people confuse the true soul with the desire soul, that मेरे मरने से पहले ये हो जाए, ये मेरी आखिरी इच्छा है. So this is the desire soul. The loud, the aggressive, the demanding. that desire soul. कि मेरे मरने से पहले तेरी शादी हो जाए, तेरा बच्चा हो जाए, तेरा डिवोर्स हो जाए, वॉट एवर, कि मेरे मरने से पहले हो जाए. क्यों भाई, मरने के बाद क्यों नहीं? So this is the desire soul. And we have to see this and we have to transcend it. We have to disidentify from the desire soul. Otherwise, as Mother shares, that you die, but your desires don't die. They keep on, they hop on to somebody else and they use his life to fulfill. So I think, again, as with Mother's words, it's our social obligation and responsibility to actually become a Jivan Mukta, desireless, and live our actions surrendered to the divine. It's not a luxury, it's a responsibility. Because I would not want my unfulfilled desires to piggyback on somebody else, and it would look so ugly, really.
So sometime back, we were talking about a true yogi, and what resonated with me was that yes, a true yogi is one who is first able to identify his emotions, as you had said, and first to identify that emotion. And because until and unless we are aware of it, until and unless we diagnose a problem, how can we even solve it? So even in the medical science, as the diagnosis has to be there, then only a cure can be, you can cure it. So the same goes with our life, our self also, that, and we've given today, everybody has talked about their experiences, that how they felt as upsurge of a certain emotion, and how they also wanted to, while it was happening, they were into it and they were wanting to control it. Yet, that moment happened that they had to, it overpowered, But then to be also be able to identify it, to be also be able to be in sync with it, to be able to be aware of, even when you are having that emotion, a negative emotion or overwhelming thing going on, I think that in itself is commendable, because most of us, probably many of us it just happens, and it's much later. Some of us, maybe we don't even realize it at certain points in our life. We have done things, and maybe we haven't had any reflection about it. But if we are able to even reflect later, I feel even that is commendable. If we are able to reflect in the moment, that is even more commendable. And I feel that a true yogi probably has the power to dissolve it also, to transcend it also. So these are various steps, the various stepping stones. So wherever we are, I'm sure if that awareness is there, I feel that in itself is a power that we have, that we have empowered ourselves with, and that we must keep it alive. We must acknowledge that, because refinement will happen, as you said, Monica, and as many others have also, that refinement will happen first when we acknowledge it, that yes, and being kind to one's own self, loving one's own self, acknowledging one's own powers, howsoever minuscule or minute it is. But if we can acknowledge that, from there we can grow in strength. And, because acknowledgement is what gives our own being, our every cell of our body. What is acknowledgement? It is a thought. And when a thought is there, it is not just in the brain, it goes in every cell of the body, because every cell has a memory of its own. So every cell is that intelligent. It's not just the brain, but every cell has a mind of its own. So if we acknowledge goodness within ourselves, or whatever little power that we have had in moments of weakness, even if we have not been able to totally transcend it, but if we had that awareness, I feel that is something, if we can, that is commendable. So just that. So from a yogi, in the path of becoming a yogi, Yes, and then to be able to dissolve it, to neutralize it and to transcend it. And yeah, so that was it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I think what more can be said? Aurobindo says that be very kind. We have to nurture because it's Krishna evolving out of us. So how would you take care of Bal Gopal, if he's evolving out of us? One has to be, as you were sharing, very kind, compassionate, and not torture ourselves too much, not beat ourselves too much. It has to be done with a lot of kindness and compassion towards oneself. Because he says that it's Krishna evolving out of you, each one of us. It's Krishna evolving out of us. And how would you treat if you knew that it's Krishna evolving out of me? You would treat him with respect, with honor, dignity, kindness. So, yeah.
And love.
And love.
And
Yes.
I feel, the most love in itself is the very essence of divine, isn't it? And we all have it within us. We don't have to, develop that. It is there. It is the very essence of who we are. The need to be loved and to love, or whatever, this love thing, that we are that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Anything more, anyone, before we end? So we'll take up this again next week, because first of all, the next para, and also I think more on desire, because it's a good topic to reflect upon. Okay, so happy practice, everyone, and maybe taking a moment before we leave to share all the merit that we may have today with all the beings around us. Sharing this merit, may all beings be genuinely well, truly well, and genuinely happy. May no one need to suffer to realize who they truly are. We can do it without suffering also. So just sharing this merit with everyone. Thank you and happy practice, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Monica. Very
Thank
beautiful.
you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sharing my merit.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.